The man's name was George Cahill. He was the man who first discovered a way of economically staging night games. By 1910, Cahill had devised a portable lighting system good enough to get the permission of Charles Comiskey to stage a game under artificial glare at the new White Sox Park. 20,000 fans watched two local amateur teams play in August of 1910 in Chicago. Third inning, no score in the ball game. Wally Backman followed by Sid Fernandez and then Lenny Dykstra. Backman a switch hitter and doing pretty well from either side of the plate. Backman doesn't play very much batting right-handed. He's hitting .294 from this side and .320 from the other side.
And he's hot, 10 for 25 in his last 7 games, and Law has to keep him honest.
Fouled away. Well, if he stays hot, they'll get a plate in his honor.
Oh, we had to ask him about that story. His wife went into a China store and saw commemorative plates, and there were Gooden, Hernandez, and Strawberry, and she said, you have one of Backman? And the proprietor said, we just sell the popular players.
0-2. 1-2 the count to Wally Backman, a very popular player.
Yeah, so then Wally went back and he introduced himself to the fella, and I don't know how it came out yet, but I think the guy's ordering some Backman plates.
He ought to. He's hitting .350 for better than a month now. And got him.
I tell you, they must not be seeing that ball because the call third strikes, Vin. There's another one. 3 of them.
4 strikeouts for Bielecki.
And 3 of them called. Now, it looks like he's watching it and seeing it well. Right down the middle, he just took it.
So with 1 away, a good hitting pitcher, Sid Fernandez, coming up. Sid might not rank up with Tim Leary, who's hitting just under .300, but at .237 and 6 RBIs, he's no slouch. Ground ball to the hole, and base hit to right field.
Well, hitting .237, he's batting higher than Howard Johnson, .225, and Elster, .217.
You think he might remind them of that fact, too?
He'll want to hit with the extra men if he keeps that up. Now, the way Sid Fernandez swings, he looks like a hitter. The way he runs, that is normal speed, is not slowed up. He's not going to break any track records.
So Sid Fernandez standing at first with 1 out in the 3rd inning. 2 hits against the starting pitcher Mike Bielecki, but the Mets nothing to show for it. Meanwhile, Sid Fernandez has allowed just 1 hit.
I imagine Grace will just stay behind him, and he's asking permission. He wants to play behind him, and I think he would. Why give up the hole with Fernandez over there? Because he can get a running start and you can still get him.
Lenny Dykstra flied to center in the 1st inning. 1-1, 1-0. Bielecki has struck out 4. No score, top of the 3rd. And he missed that one. In fact, he almost looked like he was aiming that pitch.
He did not cut that ball loose at all.
2-0 the count. Mike Bielecki, it's a pretty big night for him.
Somebody just hollered from the bench, too, Vin.
Yeah, that last delivery, it looked like somebody who was just trying to pinpoint the pitch and catch the corner. His last major league start was September of 1987. So this is a big one for him. And that's muscled into left center. On the run is Webster, but it's going to land, and Fernandez goes to second. So Dykstra was jammed and was able to push that ball out into left center field. And the Mets now are in business.
Don't let the size of Dykstra fool you. That was strictly muscle. He did not hit that ball hard. It did not spring off his bat. He just muscled it out there. There's a case of a good pitch being hit by a hitter. He hit that thing about at the trademark, and Webster, a pretty good outfielder, just couldn't catch up with it.
So with 2 on and 1 out, Howard Johnson will be the batter, followed by Keith Hernandez. Johnson struck out in the 1st inning, struggling with the bat. One reason the Mets have had a lot of trouble scoring is the fact that Howard Johnson has not been productive with men in scoring position. And he hits a fly ball to center. Mitch Webster's there, so the runners have to hold.
Vin, he kind of broke back on that ball. Now, when you look at the lights, the shadows out there is what they talk about, but that isn't what the players are worried about. The players are worried about seeing the ball off the bat. That's what they're concerned about. And people will say, well, there's some dark shadows out there.
So with 2 down, the batter is Keith Hernandez, and there's where Webster started back and almost fell.
And that's what tells you about the lights. How soon do you pick up that ball? It's not those 2 little shadow areas that you see along right and left field. And how often do you? And you can see, look at the shadow on him. You can see there's not enough light out there. That tells you more than anything that we've seen so far tonight, right there.
You know, they measure the light intensity 3 feet above the ground on the infield because they figure that's where all the action is anyway. And apparently the players say it's perfect in that area. Here's Keith Hernandez in the dirt. Nice save by Damon Berryhill.
But you got to have that ball hit 3 feet off the ground.
That's right.
If it's not, how's your Medicare?
1 ball and no strikes to count.
See, that's what catching is all right, because they always light home plate better than any place. And so you're going to see the ball. Catching it is another thing, but he blocked it nicely.
So Sid Fernandez at second, Len Dykstra at first. We have 2 down here in the third, no score.
There are 2 outs, and Fernandez will be off with the crack of the bat, but the outfielders better charge that ball because that ball is going to be slowed down by the grass, and they got a chance to get Fernandez at the plate.
1-0 the count. Fouled away. You know, the Cubs and the Mets met in another memorable night game. July the 13th, 1977. It was at Shea Stadium in New York. And the Cubs were leading the Mets 2-1 in the 6th inning. And suddenly the lights went out. Not only in Shea Stadium, not only in Queens, but throughout New York. And it was a blackout that lasted 25 hours. And folks back in New York will never forget that night.
Boy, I remember it. I know exactly where I was.
1-1. Ground ball, but Grace is there. And that will be that. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 left. And at the end of 2.5 innings, the Mets nothing and the Cubs nothing.
Just a filter. Son, you put inferior oil filters in your engine, and it's not long for this world. Look, nothing stops more dirt than America's #1 brand of oil filter, Fram.
Fram oil filters. Pay a little more now or pay a lot later.
Okay, Pepsi One, with its breakthrough sweetener, may not taste exactly like regular cola.
Pepsi One. I gotta try that.
But it's close. Too good to be 1 calorie, but it is.
Give me 4 Fram short grip oil filters.
No air filter?
Huh?
Hello? Check it with every oil change. Yours probably looks like this. Here, the Fram air filter.
The Fram Triad traps up to 48% more dirt than any leading competitor.
This is ESPN Classic.
The first night game in history of Wrigley Field, Chicago. And what a festive occasion it is indeed. It is a very humid night, but so far so good as we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. The Goodyear Blimp Enterprise from Pompano Beach, Florida, with the bird's eye view of Wrigley Field. Captain Drew Marshall from DeLand. The blimp first appeared over Wrigley Field 50 years ago. Magnificent shot.
Postcard.
Down on the ground, Damon Berryhill will check in against Sid Fernandez. Then it'll be Mike Bilecki and Sean Dunston. Well, he wasn't cheated with that hack.
No, he wasn't, and even though he's a rookie, Gary Carter still checks those eyes. He doesn't want those hitters to be sneaking peeks at the signals. As he gives the sign, he'll look right into their eyes.
And he's just about taken over. You talk about squatters' right behind the plate. Jody Davis doesn't play much at all now. Little foul. In fact, Berryhill has caught 20 of the last 26 games.
And last night, sliding on that canvas did not really do Jody Davis any good.
Yeah, Jody Davis did a Rick Dempsey, as did Les Lancaster, who's coming off the DL from an appendectomy, and he's doing belly whoppers out there.
Well, I want to tell you something. They had a little meeting today, and that appendectomy might not have been as painful. And Carter checking those eyes.
0-2. Got him.
That's what he does best, that high riding fastball.
Let's get an update. We'll go back to New York and to Gail Gardner.
Then, as you mentioned, in Montreal, Pirates with runners at first and second. Bobby Bonilla, inning-ending double play ball to Rex Hudler. Tossed to second, though, into right field. Barry Bonds scores. Bucks added another unearned run in the inning. They lead the Expos 4-1. Let's go back to Wrigley.
And here is Mike Bilecki. 1 ball and no strikes.
Fernandez has thrown 16 strikes, 9 balls.
Fernandez 6 wins and 9 losses. And the Cubs have beaten him twice. He has lost 3 of his last 4 games, has Fernandez, but it's interesting to point out in those 3 losses, one game he allowed only 1 hit in 6 innings. Another game he lost, he struck out 10, and the third game he lost, he struck out 11. 1-1. He really is an amazing, I guess he's an enigma trying to figure out why he doesn't win every time out and with a team in first place.
I tell you, he's the kind of a guy that managers just, well, they just wonder and tear your hair out is the expression, but it goes beyond that.
Fouled away by Bilecki, and the count is still 1-2. In Sid Fernandez 21 starts this year, the Mets, who are very much above 500, are under 500 in the games he pitches. And in 13 of Sid's starts, they've scored 3 runs or less.
You know, just watching him, too, I think he's another one of those pitchers that looks away from the hitter in the middle of his windup, which doesn't help the hitter's confidence.
1-2. And a chopper to third. Magadan has it. Bilecki just jogging down the line. 2 down. Though Fernandez has allowed 1 hit so far, we're in the 3rd inning, no score. Quick look, Pirates leading Montreal 4-1, and you can see Cincinnati got a run in the 1st inning, and the Western Division in the National League putting the heat on the Dodgers, who lead by a game and a half. No report yet. San Francisco in the great indoors of Houston. In the American League, Boston leading Milwaukee 2-1 in the 8th. Yankees scoreless with Toronto. Minnesota leading Cleveland. No report yet. Detroit, Texas, Seattle, California, Baltimore, Kansas City, Chicago, Oakland. Sean Dunston will be coming up. He had a line drive that was flagged by Lenny Dykstra in center field. Dunston, about as tough a man as there is in the league to walk. He has only walked 5 times all year. Slow curveball for a strike. He was walked intentionally 5 times, but only 5 times was he really walked. The toughest 3 to get the ball by: Bo Diaz, Sean Dunston, and Andres Thomas. He used to call them Bible hitters. Remember, thou shalt not pass.
That's right.
0-1.
Joe Brown, when he was over at Pittsburgh, had Manny Sanguillen the same way, and he said whenever Sanguillen walked, he thought paralysis set in.
1 ball and 1 strike. The count is Sean Dunston. It's pretty tough, isn't it, to have a leadoff man who refuses to walk?
Very difficult why you got him up there. Obviously, he is a contact hitter, supposedly, but you need that base runner, and base on balls is the way they usually do it.
He's stolen 15 out of 22 if he does get the board. He reached for a bad ball. And he's done. When you start going across the plate after pitches, there's another reason why he doesn't walk. Right now, here's a look back at a very special Olympic moment.